let's get right into it. Today, we're popping the hood on the AIs you use every single day. We're going to break down 3 key architectures: RAG, CAG, and CRAG. Think of this as your guide to choosing the right brain for any AI you're thinking about.
So, you've probably felt this, right? You ask an AI about a recent event, and it just gives you this blank stare. Or maybe it feels super sluggish, like it's taking forever to think. Or, and this is the worst one, it gives you an answer that sounds completely confident, but is just totally made up. Well, all those frustrations, they almost always come down to one thing: the AI's core architecture. So this whole story really starts with the heart of modern AI, the large language model, or LLM. These things are unbelievably powerful, but they have this one huge fundamental flaw. They're brilliant, yeah, but their knowledge is basically frozen in time from the moment their training stopped.
That's right, an LLM has no live connection to the internet, no real-time data feeds, nothing. And get this, for facts that are constantly changing, a top-tier model like GPT-4 can actually have an accuracy rate below 15%. So without some way to get new information, its answers just get stale, outdated, and sometimes they're just flat-out wrong.
Okay, so how do we fix that? Well, the first big breakthrough solution is something called RAG, which stands for Retrieval-Augmented Generation. This was really the first serious attempt to give that frozen brain a live connection to the outside world. The easiest way to think about RAG is that it gives the AI a personal research assistant that works in real time. So when you ask a question, the RAG system first zips out to an external knowledge base. Could be your company's internal documents, a database, whatever. It finds the most relevant stuff, and then it hands that fresh info to the LLM along with your question. The key here is that the AI now has current, relevant context to build its answer. But while RAG was a massive step forward, it was far from perfect. It solved the static knowledge problem, but in doing so, it introduced 2 brand new and pretty critical flaws.
So the first problem is what we call the latency bottleneck. That whole process of searching and retrieving information in real time, well, it takes time. Fetching data from huge databases can cause some serious delays. We're talking anywhere from 2.5 to over 11 seconds even for the best systems. And that's that lag you feel when you're just sitting there waiting for an answer. The second problem, and you could argue it's even more serious, is the trust gap. What happens if RAG's little research assistant grabs the wrong documents or pulls in info that's totally irrelevant? Well, the LLM has no idea. It just takes that garbage information and confidently uses it to spin up a completely wrong, hallucinated answer. And this trust gap is way bigger than you might think. A huge study on the best RAG systems out there found they only answer questions with 0 hallucination about 63% of the time. Let that sink in. That means over 1/3 of the time you're risking a bad answer. For high-stakes stuff, that is just not good enough. So, to tackle RAG's speed problem, a totally new architecture showed up: CAG, or Cache-Augmented Generation. And if RAG is a research assistant running to the library for every single question, CAG is an assistant that has already memorized the entire library.
Yeah, CAG's approach is completely different. Instead of searching on the fly, it preloads all the info it's going to need directly into the model's working memory before you even ask anything. Since there's no retrieval step, the response is pretty much instant. In some cases, it can be up to 40 times faster than RAG. It's incredibly quick.
And this really gets us to the main trade-off, right? RAG gives you access to these massive, real-time knowledge bases, but you pay for it with speed. CAG, on the other hand, gives you instant answers, but only from a limited, preloaded set of data. It's that classic battle. Do you want scale, or do you want speed?
And this is CAG's biggest weakness. It's Achilles' heel. It's totally limited by the model's context window. Just think of that as the AI's short-term memory. You can only preload as much info as can physically fit in that space. So for something like a single product manual, CAG is amazing. But for searching, say, millions of documents, it's a complete non-starter.
And that brings us to our third and maybe the most sophisticated architecture, CRAG, or Corrective RAG. Now, CRAG isn't really focused on speed. Its entire purpose is to solve RAG's other huge problem, that trust gap. It's all about accuracy.
The real genius of CRAG is this little component called a retrieval evaluator. It's basically a self-correction system that's built right into the process. So before the LLM even gets a chance to see a document, CRAG stops and asks a really simple question. Hey, is this information actually useful?
So here's how that four-step process works. First, just like regular RAG, it goes and retrieves a bunch of documents. But then it hits step 2, the evaluator grades every single document on how relevant it is. Based on those grades, it moves to step 3, where it can either throw out the irrelevant documents or go search for better ones. And only after that quality check is complete does it finally generate a response. Inside that evaluator, the logic is super simple but incredibly powerful. It just classifies documents as correct, incorrect, or ambiguous. And if it sees too many incorrect or ambiguous documents, it triggers a correction. It might try rewriting the question to be more specific or, and this is the really cool part, it will actually perform a web search to find totally new, better sources to answer the question right.
Okay, so we've got 3 really powerful architectures on the table. As a tech analyst, how do we actually choose between them? Let's break down the final verdict.
Looking at this table really makes the choices clear. If you need pure, blazing speed on a small, fixed set of data, like a chatbot for one specific product, CAG is your winner, hands down. If you're searching a massive, sprawling knowledge base and speed isn't your #1 concern, then standard RAG is your reliable workhorse. But for those high-stakes apps, like in finance or legal, where you absolutely have to have verifiable accuracy, CRAG is the undisputed champion.
So the most important takeaway here is that there's no single best architecture. It's not about one of these making the others obsolete. RAG, CAG, and CRAG, each one is a specialized tool. The best choice is just the one that's the right fit for the specific problem you're trying to solve.
So where's this all going? Well, the consensus that's forming among experts is that the future isn't about picking one of these over the others. It's about combining them. The future is definitely hybrid.
I want you to just picture this, an AI that uses CAG as its super-fast short-term memory, right? It keeps your recent conversations and frequently used info ready to go in an instant. But for the heavy lifting, for digging deep into massive archives of historical data, it switches over to the powerful, self-correcting engine of CRAG. This hybrid model gives you the best of both worlds, the instant recall of CAG combined with the huge scale and trusted accuracy of CRAG.
So the goal isn't to build around just one of these anymore, but to construct a really sophisticated hybrid brain. It's a fascinating challenge, for sure, and it leaves us with one last big question. Who's going to be the one to build it best?